Pay me, pay me, pay me my silver now. Pay me or go to jail. Pay me my silver now.
Good morning, Bix Weir, roadrunner.com with your morning horn of Z's, your sip of chaga coffee. I don't even know where to start today. If you ever thought, hey, the system might fall apart, there are so many reasons and clues and obvious statements. A subscriber just sent me the latest statement from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, and here's how it reads. Statement regarding a repurchase agreement small value exercise. The New York Fed undertakes small open market transactions for the purpose of testing operational readiness. First of all, there's small transactions, $100 million. Second of all, why do you need to do this? Your reverse repo book right now is at over $2 trillion. Let's find out what it is actually. $2.18 trillion on reverse repos. The repos went up to the trillions before. And let's get this straight. It's kind of opposite with the Fed. The Fed takes cash out of the banking system. So the banks give the Fed their cash and the Fed gives the banks the treasury. It's a shell game Ponzi scheme. So basically, here's what's going to happen. And they're telling us right here. The FMOC authorizes the New York Fed's open market trading desk to conduct these exercises to test its operational readiness in the authorization for domestic open market operations, authorization for foreign currency operations. The Fed plans on, as this crash happens, dumping massive amounts of cash into the repo market. Massive. So this is going to reverse. The reverse repos are going to reverse. They got $2 trillion. The banks will have $2 trillion to play with. You leverage that up because banks are, they can leverage 10 to 1. That's $20 trillion to play with. It's not going to be enough to save this market. Let me tell you right now. So, but that's what they're gearing up for. And this just came out today. Statement regarding repurchase agreement, small value exercise, just in case there might be trouble. There's no problem. We've got full employment. Everybody's happy. There's no recession. Don't worry about it. Everything's fine. Oh, but just in case, we're ready to dump $20 trillion into the banks to buy up shit and to cover massive holes. This is an insane system we live in with insane people running it. Look at that. $2.18 trillion in the reverse repos are about to go reverse again into the repos. So these will be dumped and this will be pumped up another 20 trillion. That's 40 trillion maybe, potentially. It is insane, but it's exactly what I think is going to happen. And this was in preparation for this. This has been going on quite a while. Let's take a look how long. Because I think they have a chart. Come on, baby. There it is. Okay. How long has this been going on? There it is. Since April 2021, they have been planning for this very moment that's coming up. That's insane. To know that the date of the collapse has been programmed in for this long. Or maybe they just knew it was going to collapse and they're just preparing, and every day, a little piece of scotch tape on the edifice of the entire global financial system. It's insane. We live in insane times. Talking about insanity, I said keep an eye on Europe. Keep an eye on Europe. Look at this business owner. She owns a pub. Look at this electricity bill for 72 days. 9,836 euro. People are getting these massive electricity bills. Massive. They can't pay and they won't pay. That's the problem. It's like when there's a problem with you and a bunch of people, the banks screw you. But if it's a problem with everybody, they screw the banks. In this situation, I think, let's find out where she is. Was this in the UK? Jesus. That's in Ireland. Poppy Fields Cafe I mean, charged nearly $10,000 over 2 months of energy usage. That's insane. The cost of electricity to Popfield's Cafe for 73 days from early June until the end of August came to €9,024, an increase of 250% in just 2 months. That doesn't include the $812 VAT, which brought her total bill to $9,837. How in the name of God is this possible? It's very simple why it's possible. You gave up your sovereignty. You didn't want to make the UK great again and produce your own energy. Trump was absolutely right. Every country has to regain their sovereignty and take care of themselves. You can't rely on someone else for gasoline, for heating oil, for anything. The insanity of what's going on right now, brought to you by the obviously the socialists, the deep state socialists. Insane. And then we have this. The oil market is completely broken, says world's largest commodity hedge fund trader. Echoing what we said 2 months ago, an observation confirmed by Goldman on one or more occasions, and also the Saudi energy minister bin Salman, who 1 week ago said that, quote, the paper and physical markets have become increasingly more disconnected due to lack of liquidity. It's not due to lack of liquidity. The problem is liquidity. The problem is that the market riggers have all the liquidity. The problem isn't lack of liquidity. The problem is they've rigged the market for so long, and now people are starting to find out about it. What they don't say in this is that this has been going on for over 100 years. And it really kicked into high gear when Alan Greenspan invented the first electronic computer models to rig the markets back in the early 70s. That's when he implemented the electronic financial system that we live in today. Yes, Alan Greenspan originally wrote the first programs. That's how he got to be head of the Fed. He was in charge of market rigging for the system. The other guy, Stephen Duveau, in the 1960s and early 1970s, early 80s. Stephen Duveau, read the Roto-Rooter documents. Stephen Duveau, who he didn't want to be where he was, let me tell you, but he rigged the market a good 10 years, from 75 to 85. Computer market rigger. He's the world's expert in project implementation. Is there a bigger project than to rig every single market on the planet with computer programs? I don't think there's a bigger project. So this has been going on for decades, over a century, truthfully. They've been rigging these markets. Well, maybe not over a century. They legally can rig the markets because of the 1934 Gold Act, which gave the Exchange Stabilization Fund the power to rig any market if it affects the U.S. dollar, which is all markets. So the U.S. government gave legal authority to itself to rig all markets, and that's where we have been. But now people are starting to see it. It's gotten so ridiculous that people are starting to see it. So this guy, one of the largest traders in the world in oil, the oil futures market is completely broken, moving down $10 in a day for no apparent reason. Duh. Hello, have you been in the silver market? Yeah, it's so crazy. And then what happens after all this? They get this monster bill. The oil markets, the COMEX is saying, oh my God, the NYMEX, oh my God, everything's rigged. Oil is probably the biggest rig job, because oil is not just, Brent crude oil or wherever the location the oil is that is traded on these derivative exchanges. It's all the things that come with oil. Natural gas, butane, methane, you name it, LNG. You name it, it is a derivative oil, such a massive market. And not only is it massive, it is rehypothecated 100 times by the derivative exchanges, just like silver, just like gold, just like foreign exchange, just like copper, just like soybeans, just like everything. What an operation the U.S. government is doing, and the banks that run cover for them. Well, and the regulators that run cover for the banks that run cover for the Fed and the Treasury. And they all work together to keep the system alive. But clearly they're having problems because they have to do an exercise, a quote exercise, and that exercise is going to move $2.1 trillion, $2.1 trillion in reverse repos. They're gonna close those out, and then they're gonna start the repo operations. Watch, oh my God, watch within the month. It's gonna start flipping. Reverse repos will start disappearing, and the repos will go crazy. So the banks can, number one, plug holes with cash, and number two, buy up everything on the cheap. Yes, I do think silver is going to go down to minus $40, along with Bitcoin is going to go down to minus $40. You can't get any at that number, and then, but I think the bankers just want to get the slam and then buy stuff up. I think we'll have a shutdown of all markets at that point. We'll find out, though. We're so close right now. So all this shit is happening, and what does Russia do to counter? Russia has officially halted natural gas flows via Nord Stream 2. Of course they're going to shut everybody off who's their enemy. Why wouldn't they? The Europeans have said, we want Russia dead. They're throwing all these sanctions on Russia. The United States, we want Russia dead. Well, fine. Screw you. I'm going to cut off everything that lets you survive. Wait till the winter. Wait till the winter. You're not even going to see those gas bills because there'll be no gas. There'll be no gas. And gas is used for everything. It's not just heating homes and cooking food. Yes, the gas burners, that's natural gas coming out of your gas burner. Unless you have a propane tank or something like that. This, oh my God, this is so gigantic. So the world, I understand that the world doesn't have to fall into despair, but it really looks like it's going to. At the end, yes, we're going to fix everything. But to get there, weeks or months of pure and utter chaos. If you have money in a 401k, in a checking account, in a savings account, I don't care who your bank is, they will all go down. I don't care if it's a neighborhood savings and loan. Goodbye. Gone. And I highly recommend moving it into silver. Silver will be the safest and the most potential for a moonshot. 100 years of price suppression does not end. 170 years of price suppression. It doesn't end calmly. It will end with 10,000, 20,000 unknown prices of silver. Cliff High's data calls it unobtainium. Silver will be unobtainium. What does that mean? It's a metal that you won't be able to get your hands on. Apple computers will not be able to get their hands on any. How much silver do they use? Massive amounts of silver in all their electronics. All these solar panels. Elon Musk's company is going to go bankrupt, period. Tesla will go to zero with no silver. He needs silver for his electric vehicles. He needs silver for his solar panels. And he needs silver for his space exploration. There's nothing that Elon Musk doesn't touch that does not need silver. It all needs silver. And Musk is not an idiot. He better be storing away a hell of a lot of physical silver in his own possession. Or he's screwed. We're all screwed anyway. We'll see what happens. On a good news point, JP Morgan's Frankfurt office is raided again as part of the Cum-Ex tax fund probe. German lawmakers have called it the greatest tax heist in history. I told you who is going to take the blame. Politicians and bankers. They've already revved up the bankers being in trouble. There's be such anti-bank sentiment. No, the United States will not have a civil war against each other. There'll be a war, we the people, Republicans, Democrats, and everybody in between, versus the government and the banks. And when everybody gets together, the government pretends they're on your side. The banks do not. The banks are out for themselves. They will be shut down. It will be over. And we are close. China's $29 billion property bailout falls short. China is not bailing out investors in Evergrande or any of the other property conglomerates. What they're doing is giving these property conglomerates enough money to finish the houses and the apartments and the condos that they've started. But every single penny of that, none of it is going to people holding Chinese debt. If you have investments in China, oh my God, I'll never forget this meeting I had. Janet Yellen gave a meeting in she was the head of the San Francisco branch of the Federal Reserve. She came to this fancy, snooty, what would you call it? Rich man's club called the PU Club, the Pacific Union Club in San Francisco. It was a room, maybe 30 or 40 bankers. I happened to be one of them in the room. I got an invite from a friend because he knew I was kind of anti-Fed back then. It's the late 90s or early 2000s. And she sat there and she explained why all you rich people need to invest in China. And I was just like scratching my head and going, what the fuck are you talking about? Best way to destroy your country is build your manufacturing capacity overseas. Build it outside of your country, the stupidest thing in history. And yet that's what they've done for the last 20 years. Thank you, Janet Yellen, for promoting that. I mean, there are people from Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Citibank, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan in that audience. Crazy. But she was told to do it. She does what she's told. That's all Janet Yellen does. Does what she's told. And by the way, if you didn't know, Jerome Powell, the head of the Fed, the reason he's there is because he's a derivative expert that unloaded all the Bankers Trust derivatives to Deutsche Bank back in the 90s. Look it up. Jerome Powell, that was his expertise. Now what we have a $2 quadrillion derivative problem now. That's why Jerome Powell was put there. It's crazy. And I just wanted to say, I've been screaming a long time about Elon Musk's satellite, 44,000 satellites in low Earth orbit, saying that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I get how it would fix a lot of problems with the internet, but it is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. 44,000 satellites all in the same orbit. Are you kidding? Blow a couple of them up and you got 44 million little pieces of metal flying around in our lower atmosphere at the same elevation, crashing into each other. It's the mouse and the ping pong, the mouse traps and the ping pong balls. You ever see that? Where one goes off and all of a sudden, bang, 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 all go off. And this is actually in Cliff High's data that we have to clean up space because there's so much debris all of a sudden. Elon Musk, I think he has 15,000 up there already. Anyway, China threatens to destroy Elon Musk's Starlink. Chinese military researchers recently called for the destruction of Elon Musk's Starlink satellites, an extraordinary threat for a state to make against a private foreign enterprise. I'm not so sure that Elon Musk is a private enterprise. In December 2021, China filed a complaint with the United Nations claiming that 2 of Musk's satellites had nearly collided with the Tianhe module of its space station in April 2021, and that Chinese astronauts had been forced to maneuver the module of the station to avoid a collision. Starlink is part of SpaceX, and the satellites are part of a plan to make the internet coverage from satellites worldwide, with the goal of launching nearly 12,000 satellites into low Earth orbit. I thought it was 44. Maybe 12,000 a year. It was supposed to be 44,000. I think they have 15,000 up there already. Anyway, space is becoming crowded with the risk of collision, whether satellites or space debris are not new. China was among the first to help create much of that debris. In January of 2007, China tested its first successful anti-satellite missile, ASAT, destroying one of its own inactive weather satellites and creating one of the world's largest space debris incidents. Now, this is, I think the U.S. did this first. There were two. No, China did the second one. The U.S. did the first one. But there were 2 gigantic satellites, one hovering above the U.S. and one hovering above China around that time in 2007. It was part of the end game. They were basically EMPs waiting to go off. And the U.S. blew up the first one, and China blew up the second one. Yep. They were nuclear missiles. Anyway, that's my take back then, as I recall. You can probably find it by searching the Road to Ruta website, roadtoruta.com. Yes, it was the dumbest idea ever. Now China's going to blow up one or two of them, and they're all going to blow each other up. Not blow each other up, but I mean, imagine going from 15,000 up there right now to 50,000 little pieces of space junk all hitting each other, to 150,000 to 1,000,000 pieces of space junk all in the same low Earth orbit. It's over. It's over. It's just dumb that he did that. Anyway, yeah, that's the world we live in. We're not going to be able to get off the planet. Maybe that's part of the plan. I don't know. So we got to deal with what we got here on the planet and the insanity of war and hate and fear, and it is all coming down. There's only one reason why all this shit is going on, and that's the unbacked fiat monetary system has been abused so badly, incredibly badly, and the whole pedo situation with our government. So that's what we're going to talk about on tomorrow with Jenny Moonstone. Check out the Jenny Moonstone sessions. They'll blow your mind. Last 2 weeks ago, we did Good Guy's New Monetary System and the Road to Ruta documents, future of the IRS and China shutting off the USA from imports, all the pedo stuff, understanding human history, the new silver eagle whale. Who is that silver eagle whale? There's a massive silver eagle whale. Not the silver eagle whale, but the silver whale, taking JP Morgan's 1.2 billion ounces. Who is it? And I think I figured it out, along with Jenny's help. The Grim Reapers of Silver and the Master Plan. That's a good one. We did that back in July. Go check that out. Anyway, we'll have 2 new Jenny Moonstone discussions on Thursday. So make sure you tune into that. If you are not a subscriber to the private road on the Road to Ruta, we are still, while silver is still at this ridiculously low price, we are still giving away the Road to Ruta Lives coin. It is a double struck coin with each individually numbered with a certificate of authenticity and a hand-painted red heart right in the middle. The future of the United States is good. It's solid. We just got to get rid of these assholes. And clearly, all the things I talk about today, any one of them could be the trigger that sets off the derivative bomb. These are derivatives. These reverse repos and repos are derivatives. That's $2 trillion. It's just about to be set off. And what is the Fed's counter to that? More. The only way you solve a derivative problem is to add massively more derivatives. That's why we get the blow up, and everything else the people just have to deal with. Keep an eye on Europe. When Europe goes, the U.S. has 2 weeks. And when you get a bill like this, look at that. That's a power bill for a coffee shop. 9,836 euros, $10,000. $10,000. That company's out of business. That coffee shop out of business. Good night. Europe is going to fail because of their leadership. If you listen to Nigel Farage 20 years ago, you could be in better shape. But keep an eye on Europe. Europe will go first, then the USA. Get your money out of the banks. Get your assets in your own possession. If you don't have a local silver dealer you can walk down and buy silver from, give my man Andy Scheckman an email. Send him an email, Andy, A-N-D-Y, at milesfranklin.com, milesfranklin.com. And every last penny you have, get it into silver is my recommendation. Not financial advice, but my recommendation. This is the end game. Prepare yourself.